What if studying felt addictive to you? Yes. Is it possible to get addicted to studying without taking any substance? Most people burn out quickly when studying, but I've found 6 irresistible formulas that are guaranteed to make studying enjoyable, like Netflix and TikTok. These are the exact formulas I use to ace exams and tests in under 2 weeks. Before I discovered these tactics, I was just like everyone else, distracted and tired. I used to open my books, and 5 minutes later, I was scrolling through Instagram without even realizing it. But when I learned how to beat the dopamine traps and lock into study mode, my results skyrocketed. And now, I'm studying longer, focusing better, and even enjoying the process. Because when you understand how the top students use this psychology to silently dominate in class, you'll be able to do the same and get results like that. Now I want you to imagine what your grades would look like if you were addicted to studying. Maybe thousands of A's and free scholarships. Maybe you've asked yourself, is it really possible to study for hours without feeling drained? I want you to believe it's actually possible. No caffeine, no external pressure, just pure focus that almost feels automatic. That's what this video is about. Because in this video, I'm going to show you my step-by-step framework on how to quietly build study addiction in 14 days. Here's the real problem. Most people try to build a study habit and expect to get addicted to it, without first understanding why the human brain gets hijacked so easily. This is what no one talks about. Something that's been silently hijacking your brain and killing your focus. But once you understand why, you'll be ahead of 90% of people, giving yourself a much better chance at beating the constant hijacking and finally locking into deep focus. Your brain is addicted to high dopamine rewards. Social media, YouTube shorts, video games. They spike dopamine fast, while studying doesn't. It's slow, delayed, and quiet. That's why when you sit down with a book, your brain begs for something more exciting. If you don't control what your brain craves, it will never choose studying, because TikTok will always feel better in the moment. If you really start paying attention to yourself, you'll notice something strange. There's a hidden force inside you that pushes back every time you try to focus. That's your hijacked reward system. Your brain has been trained to chase quick dopamine hits, not deep work. But here's a simple exercise that could quietly change your life. Start noticing what you reach for the moment you feel bored. Catch yourself before it becomes automatic. That small moment of awareness? It's the first step to rewiring your brain. But awareness alone isn't enough to get addicted to studying. That's why Tactic 1 is the first step to victory. Most people think they need more motivation to study. But the real problem is deeper. Your brain is hooked on fast dopamine, not slow focus. Right now, your brain is used to getting instant rewards. A scroll, a click, a buzz, boom, dopamine. But studying? It's slow, quiet. It rewards you later. And that's why your brain resists it. To fix this, you need to reset what your brain craves. Without this reset, every time you sit down to study, your brain will look for the next shiny thing. Your brain is constantly comparing what you're doing now to something more exciting. If you use a TikTok, your biology will say, "Why are we reading this boring textbook?" That's not laziness. That's just a hijacked reward system. Lowering your dopamine baseline helps your brain appreciate focus again. So what's the fix for this overloaded brain? It's called a dopamine detox. It's not about quitting life or becoming a monk. It's about removing artificial highs. No social media, no junk food dopamine, no short-form videos. Just enough stillness for your brain to reset. Now, how do you actually do this without feeling miserable? Take 2 to 3 days where you cut off high-stimulus input. That means no Instagram, no gaming, no sugar rushes. Instead, fill that time with things like walking, journaling, or quiet reflection. Yes, it'll feel boring at first, but that's a sign your brain is recalibrating. And once it's reset, even opening a textbook will feel better than you remember. Sounds weird, right? But this same method is used by top performers. Elite athletes use this technique before major competitions. They remove distractions to lock in a flow. You're doing the same, but for your brain. Reset the reward system, and studying becomes addictive again. But even if your brain resets, you won't become consistent unless you change something deeper, your identity. You can copy every tactic in this video, but if your identity says, "I'm not a focused person," you'll self-sabotage. The brain doesn't just follow habits. It follows identity. Once you believe you're the kind of person who studies, your actions start to match. Without this shift, every study session will feel like you're pretending to be someone you're not. If your identity says, "I'm lazy," then focus will always feel unnatural. But when your identity is, "I'm a deep learner," focus becomes automatic. You're not forcing yourself anymore. You're just being you. But how do you build a new identity without faking it? It's called identity priming. You feed your brain small, repeated signals until it accepts a new version of you. Start small, tiny cues that say, "I study because that's who I am." So what does that look like in real life? Change your self-talk. Instead of saying, "I need to study," say, "I'm the kind of person who studies." Write it down. Set it as your lock screen. Even post it in your room. "I'm a focused learner." Then act on it, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. The more you act like this person, the more you become them. You've seen this in action before, you just didn't know it. Kobe Bryant created the alter ego Black Mamba to lock into focus. It wasn't just for hype, it was to step into an identity. When you study as your focused self, it rewires how your brain responds to the task. Now you're becoming the kind of person who studies, but it won't stick if it feels like punishment. So let's fix that next. Here's something no one tells you. You're allowed to enjoy studying. In fact, it's required if you want to stick with it. When studying is fun, your brain floods with energy, not from sugar or caffeine, but from pleasure itself. And fun equals focus. Make studying enjoyable, and you won't need discipline. So why do most people treat studying like it's a punishment? We were trained to study for grades, not joy. But joy is the fuel that makes consistency effortless. When you enjoy the process, you come back the next day without even thinking. But what does fun-based studying actually mean? It's called feel-good productivity. You create tiny bursts of pleasure while studying, so your brain learns to crave it. This could be music, visuals, voice notes, teaching someone else, anything that keeps it light and playful. So how can you start making your sessions feel more fun? Use colored pens. Watch animations. Speak out loud. Act like you're teaching a YouTube audience, even if it's just your wall. Use a whiteboard. Add a timer and turn it into a game. Even sitting in a new spot can spark your brain. Make it feel like play, not pressure. Still sounds silly? It's how top creators and learners get more done than the rest. Ali Abdul says when studying feels fun, your energy multiplies. Fun isn't extra. It's essential if you want to do hard things consistently. But even if studying feels fun, you'll still fail if your environment is full of traps. You don't fail to focus because of weak willpower. You fail because of easy distractions. If your phone is within reach and your bed is nearby, studying will always lose. But if you make studying the easiest option, it wins every time. This is the trick smart students use without even realizing it. James Clear said it. You fall to the level of your systems. If your environment supports distractions, discipline won't matter. Your brain follows whatever's easiest. So what exactly needs to be changed in your setup? It's called friction control. You increase the resistance of bad habits and decrease it for good ones. If grabbing your phone takes effort, you won't do it. If studying is easy to start, you will. Let's simplify this and make your space friction-proof. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers. Don't study on your bed. Study at a clean desk. Even posture matters. If you lie down, you'll feel sleepy. Sit up. Lock in. Make the study zone a focus-only zone. Want proof this works? Students who study in clean, tech-free areas consistently focus better and study longer. Their environment forces their brain to pay attention. Design your space for success, and studying becomes automatic. But a perfect environment means nothing if your schedule is all over the place. Want studying to feel natural, like brushing your teeth? Then you need rhythm. When you study at the same time each day, your brain gets the memo. It starts preparing in advance. It becomes a ritual, not a decision. Let your brain do the heavy lifting if you give it a pattern to follow. Random study times confuse your internal clock. But when your brain expects it, it turns on the focus switch automatically. Let's look at how this actually works in practice. It's called rhythmic priming, a fancy term that means doing something at the same time builds automaticity. Your brain starts preparing for the task without you even realizing. Want to turn this into a real habit? Choose a fixed study slot. Same time, every day, 4 p.m. after school, 7 a.m. before classes. Doesn't matter, just stay consistent. Your brain will soon say, oh, it's time to focus now. This is how high performers lock into their flow state. Writers, creators, athletes, they all use time-based rituals to avoid decision fatigue. When your brain knows what's coming, it stops resisting. But even with a perfect schedule, you'll still fail if you're waiting to feel motivated. The biggest myth in productivity? That you need motivation before you start. In reality, motivation comes after movement. You take action first, then the energy shows up. Why does it feel so hard to start? It's so easy once you begin. Your brain releases dopamine in response to progress. That means start first, reward later. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. So how does this mental switch actually work? It's called the activation principle. You start small, lower resistance, and let momentum do the rest. The goal isn't to study long. The goal is to just start. Let's break this into something brain-proof. Use the 2-minute rule. Tell yourself, just open the book. Just write one line. Starting is the hardest part, but once you do, the brain kicks in. Top creators live by this, even on days they don't feel it. Ali Abdaal starts every writing session by typing nonsense just to get moving. That momentum fuels the entire work session. You don't wait for energy, you create it. You've just reprogrammed your brain to crave studying. But there's one fatal mistake that could erase all your progress. Most people don't even notice it. If you don't fix how you read, everything you study will vanish from your memory in days. You'll stay busy, but forget everything. That's what the next video reveals. How to remember everything you read. Because focus without memory is wasted effort. Watch it next.